How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the so-called ISIS bride that was at one point living in the U.S., maybe as a citizen, maybe not. We'll get to that in a moment. But she decided she wanted to pack up her bags and go overseas and become an ISIS fighter. As a result, she was married off to two different ISIS fighters. Both of them are dead, but one of them was able to get her pregnant. Now she has an 18-month-old son. She's overseas somewhere, living real rough, not barely drinking any water, just playing in sand. And she's like, hey, I'm ready to come back home. I have a son. I'm a single mom. Please help. And we're going to get into the article here to see exactly what is going on and how she's going to go about coming back home after she left to be an ISIS fighter. And the article reads, the father of an Alabama woman who joined the Islamic State in Syria filed suit against the Trump administration in an effort to allow her to return to the U.S. Ahmed Ali Muthana, hopefully I pronounced the name correctly, argues in the suit filed Thursday in the federal court in Washington that his 24-year-old daughter, Hoda Muthana, is an American citizen by birth and should be allowed to come back to the U.S. with her toddler son. Hoda Muthana is now in a Syria refugee camp with the 18-month-old boy after fleeing the remnants of the Islamic State. Her lawyer said in a statement that she expects to be charged with providing material support to terrorism if she is allowed to return to the U.S. Obviously, if she was to come back, you're talking about the first stop should be Gitmo. She shouldn't even really come back to the continental United States. I'm talking about just stay offshore and house her there. How are you going to allow a terrorist to come back into the country? We're trying to fight terrorism. We're trying to fight that kind of stuff from coming back. I don't care if she's a single mom, a woman, you know, if you decide to join ISIS, you've already let me know pretty much where you stand. So that's that. But let's keep going with the article. And I quote, Ms. Muthana has publicly acknowledged her actions and accepted full responsibility for those actions, the lawyer said. In Ms. Muthana's words, she recognizes that she has ruined her own life, but she does not want to ruin the life of her young child. Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to get married, quote unquote, to this ISIS fighter and have his baby. That was a conscious choice. You went over there knowing that this could happen to you. So now, I mean, don't expect us to bail you out. If that was your decision, now you got to deal with it. But let's keep going. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said Wednesday that the young woman is not a citizen and will not be admitted to the country. The family and their lawyer say that they were told that the U.S. determined she did not qualify for citizenship because her father was a Yemeni diplomat at the time of her birth. So, you know, the whole birthright citizenship thing may not necessarily be a thing because you have a different status as a diplomat. You're not really part of the country. It's kind of weird, but let's keep going. But the family argues that it's incorrect. They say that her father ceased to be a diplomat before she was born in Hackensack, New Jersey, and that she had a legitimate passport when she left the U.S. to join the Islamic State in Syria in 2014. Well, hey, it doesn't really matter to me if she had a legitimate passport, illegitimate passport. If you decide to join ISIS, I think that should be revoked. Citizenship shouldn't really be this thing where it's like, well, I can just use it however I want. I can use my passport to go become a terrorist somewhere overseas. You should be able to lose your citizenship if you do certain things. Okay, that should be kind of part of a punishment. If you decide to flee overseas to become a terrorist and we can prove that, then nah, you should not be allowed to return. Your passport, all that should just be destroyed and you shouldn't have any more citizenship. You can apply to become a citizen again, but not until you go through a few steps. That's what I would do, okay? It'd be kind of like felons losing the right to vote. You can apply to get the rights restored, but it's going to be a process. I would not allow terrorists to come into the country. We're trying to fight that. We're trying to prevent that. Why allow them, that people that we know are linked to ISIS, why allow them to come into the country? I don't care if you're a woman, baby, but let's keep going. The Obama administration initially determined she was not a citizen. Say it one more time. The Obama administration initially determined she was not a citizen and notified her family that it was revoking her passport in January 2016. So I don't want to hear anybody say, oh, Trump is a racist, Trump hates brown people, all this, that, and the third. The Obama administration said she is not a citizen. This was done long before Trump got into office. You're talking about 1 year before the inauguration date of Donald J. Trump. So this ain't nothing to do with Trump. This is an Obama thing. And I agree with them on this particular case. Keep her out of the country. If you have a legitimate reason, even better. Even if that reason didn't exist, you should still keep her out of the country. That's pretty much how I look at it. But let's get back to the article. Under the Immigration and Nationality Act, a person born in the U.S. to an accredited foreign diplomatic officer is not subject to U.S. law and is not automatically considered a U.S. citizen at birth. Very simple. There you go. So that's pretty much the article right there. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. Look, if you are not privy to the laws of the country as a diplomat, then you can't just act like that's not the case whenever you feel like it's convenient for you to feel like that. You understand? Because a diplomat, that's a prized kind of designation. You can pretty much do whatever you want. I mean, you might be able to kill somebody and get away with it if you're a diplomat, if you did it in the U.S., because you're not subject to our laws. You're kind of like your own little sovereign entity within the U.S. as a diplomat. That's kind of how that goes. So if you want to have those benefits, those perks, you can't just say, well, I'm going to throw it away whenever I want. And this young lady right here, I read a little bit more about her. It may have been her or the other person, Shamia Begum. And speaking of Shamia Begum, you see this article right here from Vice talking about stripping Shamia Begum of her citizenship is racist and dangerous. Now, this is over in the UK. They're just straight saying, no, you can't come back. We're going to take a citizenship from you. And I feel like that's the right thing to do. It's not racist. It's not anything. It's definitely not dangerous to keep a terrorist out of your country. I mean, how are you going to say that keeping a terrorist or somebody that's linked themselves to terrorism, how are you going to say keeping them out of the country is dangerous? It's actually safe. I mean, that's just a logical thing to do. So this person here, Hoda Muthana, was talking about how she grew up and the household that she was in was contradictory to the surrounding area, and she couldn't do anything else but become more religious. So, I mean, really, that's kind of an indictment on Islam. It's not an indictment on us as the United States. Really, what that says is that your household was anti-American. If you were to be more American, you wouldn't be over there in Syria in a refugee camp with a baby and 2 dead husbands. It's pretty simple. So, hey, man, you made your choice. I don't want to hear nothing about, well, I had no other choice but to do it. Nah, you could have become more religious, not necessarily become an ISIS fighter. And it felt like that was the best way for you to go. Then, hey, it is what it is. Blame your parents. Blame the family that you grew up with, not the U.S. So, nah, stay over there in the refugee camp. And I think anybody who does this should meet that same fate. It should be kind of a cautionary tale to anybody that just wanted to become an ISIS fighter. Don't do it or you will not be able to come back. So what do you think? Do you think that Hoda Muthana, Shamia Begum, and all these other ISIS fighters, terrorists, etc. should be able to come back to the country of origin after they regret their decision? Because think about it like this. If you decide to join ISIS, what is your purpose? To kill people? To commit jihad? How are we going to even know what you've done over there? Are there any records of who you've killed and who you've, attacked? Is there any record of that? So how do we really know what we're getting? We can be getting sleeper cells. And is it a gender thing that makes this story seem kind of sympathetic to some people? Because imagine if it was a male. Like, imagine if one of her husbands were to survive and she died and he had the baby rather than her. Would be like this wouldn't even be in the news. Nobody would care. It just wouldn't even really be a thing. That same standard should apply here, because a terrorist is a terrorist. I don't care if you male, female, unicorn, non-gender, whatever the case may be. But I want to hear you guys' thoughts in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.